Welcome to Electric Evolution with Liz Allan. This podcast explores the transition to net zero and the systems driving real change in how we move, live and power our world. Every week I sit down with the people leading that change, those offering insight, innovation and impact in many ways people don't fully see until they hear their stories. If you're ready for real conversations that inspire action and drive change, please like this video, subscribe to the channel and join us on this journey. And let's cut through the noise and build a better future together. On today's episode, I have with me Asif Ghafoor from Be.EV, and he's the CEO. And I've been trying to get you on for a little while now, Asif, and I know you are so busy with your work and everything that you're doing. But thank you ever so much for joining me.
Well, it's great to be invited on, and looking forward to the conversation as well.
So let's start off, and everybody who's been watching and listening for a little while knows where I always start, and this is about you and your background. So give us a little bit of kind of background about what you did before Be.EV, even if you want to go back to, because we had a little conversation before we started recording about your university days and also where you're originally from, because I didn't realise where you were originally from.
I was born in Liverpool and grew up in Liverpool as well. And so did all my schooling there, and actually lived in inner city Liverpool. So I think what people would say a little bit rough these days. And but at the time, when you're in that world, you don't notice what's around you. To be honest, you think that's pretty normal as well. But it kind of helped shape me and some of the decisions which have made future in my career. As you mentioned, I went to Bradford University, did a business studies degree, and was super keen, super enthusiastic. Left uni at that time at a period of high recession and managed to get a few job offers, which was great. And I went into banking, and it's interesting because of the background you come from. You don't have experience of careers, so why did I go into banking? Because the university ran a program over a holiday period, which gave you exposure to what a graduate would be doing over 2 years, over an 8-week period, and that was it. So therefore, decided let's do banking, give that a go. Did aircraft finance, worked for BAE Systems, and then worked for Amy, which is where I did 14 years on the infrastructure side. I was the managing director of investments at Amy, and for the last 5 years there, I had a really supportive CEO, and he was very much because one of my roles was to look at new businesses, new sectors, new markets, and he put a lot of support around why don't you go and look at where infrastructure's going forwards and what could Amy at that time do around that space. Unfortunately, Amy got put up for sale, so I left, and but the last contract which I tendered and won was with Greater Manchester to run their EV charging network. And so in lockdown, Amy were like, it's not really core, we're selling the business, would you like to buy the company? So we bought the company. I contacted my friend who's now the co-founder as well, Adrian Field and Gray, and the two of us bought the company, dragged a few people over from Amy, and that's the start of Be.EV, really.
Wow. And actually I was going to say, your hashtag roving CEO post on LinkedIn, really interesting. So and I saw you you had a video, or there was a video, I don't know whether you were behind the camera or somebody else was behind the camera, but Adrian was talking about various things, but you're really you really think about social media and the information that you're putting out to people, so you know it's really interesting to see all of the posts that you're putting on, because you've got quite a lot of opinions as well, haven't you, about various things, which is good.
Yeah, I always say to people, there's no crime in having opinions as long as you're respectful of your opinions, and you're open to listen to the counter of that as well. But as a business, and my chairman actually grabbed hold of me very early on and said, we need to make better use of social media. You're quite interesting. I'm not sure what he meant by that. And you should be more active. And then I said, what do I do? And he was like, just go off, you'll work it out. And I kind of spent, and I still do, spend a huge amount of time actually on the road. going to sites, meeting customers, looking at the infrastructure, going to competitor sites, and so on. So the roving CEO kind of was born from that, and it's kind of stuck. Nearly 99% of my material is actually organic, so I produce it myself. And some of my friends are like, "Oh, we know you produce it because it's so you, the way you did it." I'm like, not sure what that means, but you can see that in the way I film things and photograph things. And I try and just be real on that as well, a bit of humour. I'm a Scouser, we're all funny. And try and be funny and try and be me and try and be the way I talk to people and day in, day out as well. So it's some of my closer friends who are in business find, "Oh my God, you're so annoying. I wake up in the morning and the first face I see is yours, not my wife's." Because I said, "Well, don't look at your phone then. Look at the other side of the bed."
It's very true. It's very true. But it just shows. It shows that people are seeing you as a brand. So when is it? How long is it since you actually founded BEV then?
It's not been a long journey, to be honest. We kind of when we started discussing acquiring the business, we were in lockdown. So Adrian was
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
my
Sorry, you
bubble.
said that. Yeah.
Yeah, Adrian was in my bubble at home, and came and left his family and came and moved in because we needed to spend time building the business plans. And we set the business up really get going in April 21. That's when we acquired the first contract and started developing the plans. It takes roughly 18 months, 2 years to get the infrastructure in the ground. So the real push on the network started in 23, and then we've been going at a reasonably good pace, and actually gave us a slight advantage because we were able to learn from the mistakes some of the earlier networks were making, and we tried to be very observant and like a sponge, trying to just understand and listen. And we've tried to do something very different, which is at the start we found everyone was like, "Oh my God, I've got 1,000, I've got 1,200, I'm going to get to 800 and all of this." I was like, that's so macho, male-dominated language. Whereas actually the answer to this prize is how do you build a network which actually your customers want to go to, and when there is choice, because today people are still finding that there's not enough at times in certain geographies, but when we get into choice, how do you get customers to come to your network? And we obsessed about that very, very early on, and that's kind of the obsession we've got now as well.
But that's brilliant because you are very community focused, aren't you? Which kind of, to me, goes hand in hand with the whole customer experience side of things.
Yeah.
So, at what point did you decide that this is what you wanted to actually be? You wanted to be a community focused organization.
I think to me, two things, you're going to laugh at this, but two things kind of shape that. One is 1976, uh,
Okay.
the other is 2016, so the six is in there at least as a commonality. But for me, the element around the community is all about shaping some of the experiences Adrian and I have had in our lives, and then as we've built the team out, the team have had. And there's a danger that we do things, especially in this quite geeky, climate-focused world, where we become our own bubble and talk to everyone else within our bubble, and we think everyone gets it, and why don't you get it? Well, actually, the mass market doesn't get it. And in 1976, when we moved to Kensington in Liverpool, that's mass market. That's basically the Labour Party love using the phrase ordinary working class. That is a working class area of Liverpool. And that, if you can capture that community on this journey, that was important to me. And 2016, because that was Brexit, the Brexit vote. And if the one thing we learned, no matter what side of the fence you sat on in or out, was actually if you don't take the nation with you, the communities you're operating in, the people you work with, the people you're going to affect, you're going to have quite a backlash. And this isn't about how do I become green yet. The super keenies are excited by that. Mass market are more worried about the cost of living, how am I going to keep my job, how do I get my kids to school, how do I get from A to B, how do I have a good time and have a few holidays and opportunity around that. And then how do you create that community-based network which places its chargers in the community, which thinks about regeneration, but in a way which engages community as part of that process and looks at building a network which has got customer at the heart of it, but it's not just an elitist customer, it's everybody in that space. And how do you get the early adopters, but also how do you think about building in future drivers and build that network associated with that? That was kind of the core, and it's always been one of the things the team always try. What do we mean by community? And I give them numerous examples of, we did a bus pull yesterday for the Mayor's charity in Manchester. That's being part of the community, as well as working with Manchester University or with Bradford University, or actually putting chargers in the right locations, offering good value for off-peak drivers, and so on and so on. There's multiple ways of actually being able to deliver that community piece.
You just beat me to it, because that's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to ask you, because engaging with your community is so important, and that's really, really interesting what you said about kind of 1976 and 2016, those milestones for you in your life that's had that impact on your working life and your career and what you're trying to build as an organisation. Is that something that you've carried on sort of moving forwards with that same ethos then?
Yes, we have, and one of the big things for me with the team is we've tried to build a team which is not just technically competent, but culturally bought into the journey. And everyone in the business, every month, goes out and goes to chargers and talks to customers, goes to competitors' chargers, talks to customers, shares their own experiences, and those data points are captured as part of our customer analysis. But it's the finance does that, HR does that, as do the core customer team as well. That kind of cultural being out, talking to people, and not just listening to your own voices or your own mini groups is important, because going back to that 2016 example, the danger was everyone was just listening to themselves. And as the world becomes more polarized, we're finding that people aren't listening to opinions and listening to different voices, and they're just tuning into their own. And this is an important piece in the business as much as it was in the foundations of what we set up.
I was going to say, to me now, from what you're saying, it also feels like you've got that real community element within the business itself because of what your own ethos is and what it's been. That's a really, really good idea, to get people to go out and try out the different charges of, like you say, competitors and everything like that. But just like, talking to people and engaging and understanding what they want and what bothers them and what they're happy or sad about or angry about and all of that kind of stuff. It's
Yeah.
really simple, isn't it? But it just takes that little bit of time.
Yeah, and you look at this space, what are we doing? Ultimately, we're selling electrons in an experience which nobody falls out of bed to say, oh, I hope today's charging experience is going to be absolutely amazing. People just want this to be a frictionless, effortless activity which fits in on what the exciting things are, whether it's going to a traffic centre or whether it's going to bowling or whether it's actually fiddling around on your phone and doing something else. And that element of understanding. And it was interesting because the first wave of doing this with the team, I'm always learning. So the roving CEO is actually roving for a reason, because I'm learning. And we filmed some of the team who had never charged before. We watched what they were doing, and immediately the penny dropped. Our instructions on our chargers, A, were too small, so anyone who needed glasses couldn't read them, and B, they were wrong. They were in the wrong steps. So you had lots of confusion. So, but you kind of sit in an office and you design it, and it sort of makes logical sense. You go out and apply it to people who've never done it before in the community, and you suddenly begin to see that that customer experience is already lost at step one. And that's been such a big part of the work which we're doing, is looking at these kind of steps, looking at the signage, looking at lighting, and safety and space bays and all this kind of stuff as well as your digital experience and so on. And those people who know me know I get extremely, I'm forever climbing a hill, get to the top of the hill, and I kind of forget to say, yeah, we're at the top of the hill, because I see another hill.
Oh God, yeah, I know that one. Yeah, yeah. That I've got to say that's the way my brain works,
Yeah.
as if honestly. But yeah, yes, you don't. You need to remember to celebrate
Yeah.
those milestones rather than, like you say, seeing that hill and going right next hill, carry on. It's like doing the three peaks 25 times, isn't it? Keep going. But I was going to say the other thing that you just made me think about then when you were talking about those instructions, it's that simplicity, isn't it? Making it simple, because to me, it's a bit like making a cake. If you make a cake and you miss ingredients out, you don't come out with a cake, do
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Can you tell I like cakes? Um, but actually, if you get the ingredients in the right order, in the right measurements, and you make it simple for people, then that's what comes out the other end, isn't it? It's a really good seamless charging experience. Not a cake, obviously. I mean,
Yeah.
a cake extra would be good, but
And you become kind of obsessive about this, because you're continually refining. And it's interesting, when we observe the early adopters, their need for instruction and information and data is very different from what we're observing with mass market, and then different age groups and sexes and so on. We're beginning to observe, and how do you then go about blending stuff like that into the mix. And one of the opportunities we've had, because we've just built this quite amazing site in central Manchester called Charging Oasis,
yeah.
the Oldham Road, we've actually used that as a test bed for some of the future developments, and look at, what we're going to try. We're trialing canopies at present, a huge debate internally. They are pink because I overruled everybody, and
Did you?
they're going to be pink.
Love it.
Everybody wanted green, and
Right.
but they are pink because at that time in our color palette we had pink as well, and I was like, oh, it'd be nice to have a bit of a pop. And our architect who designed the site for us on day one, actually kind of came up with the design. I'm like, you wouldn't tell Pablo Picasso how to redraw. So I've employed an expert. I want this. I think that I'm going to rely on my expert's output, and kind of drive it from that.
But pink's, I mean, I love pink myself. I've got to say, so, and green and pink works pretty well together, doesn't it? So yeah, like you say, you've got to go with that person who's put those ideas forward. And so how's it looking now that it's? I've seen some images, but I've not been up to Manchester to actually visit yet. How's it working out? What's the biggest besides the pink, kind of canopy? What are the biggest lessons that you've learnt from kind of installing that charging oasis? Is there anything major that stood out to you?
Yeah, it's basically have a belief and go with it. Because on day one, when we were offered the land to buy, I said to Adrian, "Come on, let's get it." That's as far as the conversation went. We didn't run any models or anything. We bought the land, and then we were like, "It's a great location. I'm sure it'll work." And not that I recommend that as future land policy strategy at all. But we then, day one, I phoned an architect I knew, and I said, "Can you design this?" Rather than infrastructure people creating petrol station layouts, we've got a space here. How do we design it? How do we add an amenity? So you've got a circular design. People are parked around the edge, and then fundamentally we said we want to build something which is we said to him, the brief was, can we get the Hanging Gardens of Babylon? That's what I want people to charge in tranquil peace. It's a derelict, dirty ex-petrol station in an area which needs a lot of regeneration and support to kind of bring the area up and the communities to have belief and opportunity. How can we create something which is a wow factor And that was kind of the belief. And I genuinely do think that's what we ended up delivering as well. But there was all, we had a version with a canopy, then the canopies were blocking the doors opening. A big canopy with circular one in the middle, we're blocking the doors opening, so we're thinking no, accessibility is important, and also drivers manoeuvring will bang into it. So we just went through a few versions of that, but we kept to our initial belief that actually we're trying to create something which is community driven, which is hanging gardens of Babylon, the charging, hence why it's called the Charging Oasis. And it has lovely amenities. It's got Nero Express on it as well. And I do recommend, and I invite people to I'm always welcome to all our charging stations, but this one you have to visit.
I will definitely visit one next time I'm up north. And actually, yes, I think that's a really good thing to do. You've just brought me perfectly into partnerships, because you were just talking about kind of Cafe Nero and places like that, because you're very big on partnerships, aren't you? And I know for an organisation like yourselves, that's going to be of utmost importance anyway. How does it work? How do you choose the partners that you're working with? Whether it's whether it's kind of your installers, or whether it's kind of your back office systems, or the partners that you're working with on site.
For me, this space, the stage we're at in this market, you need to be nimble, and you need to surround yourself with a group of very intelligent people. I'll name him because I know he's retired. Maybe he's not retired. He's leaving. He's the current CEO of Kia, a guy called Andrew Davis, who was my mentor at BAE. And he said to me, when he picked me to join his team, I was a bit like, why have you picked me? I'm a bit odd. Don't fit in this mold of what you've set up. And he said, because I know the limitation of my knowledge and the edge of my envelope is X, you're now extending that. And that's the ethos which I then have taken in my life forwards. And actually said the partners we go out with need to be able to deliver the edge of what we as a business, we're a principal, our business model is very much you're a prime contractor, you're the intelligent a party running the operations. All of our services effectively are outsourced out to competent third parties who we're proud to have as partners. And we're very loyal because we will basically, I don't think we are in the market trying to tinker with saving 10p here and there. Yeah, costs I've got to keep an eye on, but fundamentally it's about building proper partnerships, giving people confidence of volume coming through so they can invest in their business. And as we grow, they grow, and we sit alongside each other and support each other. And as we've seen, when times have been, we've made mistakes, we've done silly things here and there, or even right at the beginning. DLA is a good example of a partner, the law firm we've used. Day zero, they said to me, Asif, we believe in you. I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing yet. What do you mean you believe? We believe in you. We'll provide free legal services until the point you can pay. And that took me 18 months to have that capital raise. I'd spent a few $100,000 by then on legals, but actually the belief of that partnership from their perspective, because they've seen the way it operated historically, meant they were able to provide that support, and we really appreciate it. And then going forward, they're our main provider of services. And so we kind of, you walk through that, and you've got to be as good on your intentions as your partners are. And 95% of times we never let down.
Oh, that's amazing. And that's what you need, isn't it? But it's that kind of choosing with integrity, and making sure that those partners that you're working with have also got integrity. So it's kind of that mirror, isn't it? Like for like.
And I treat them a bit like my internal team. I'm not one who's shy in coming forward. If I've got something to say, people will kind of know. And but also we've got praise to give. We'll be giving praise. But with the partners, they know when we're not happy. But they'll try and do something about it immediately. They also know when they've been doing things really well. And you saw on the Charging Oasis the number of people we had working on that from a partnership perspective. And a lot of them we had to carry they carried their belief, even though at times they weren't quite sure what we were going on about. But they did the work to get us to a point to be able to deliver the project. And we delivered that. If I compare that to a lot of forecourt type models, we delivered that very cost effectively. And rarely, having worked in infrastructure for 14 years, we delivered that on time, on budget. I fell off my chair. I was expecting a cost overrun at least, or a few weeks delay. If I'm being honest, not to tell the team that.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, any kind of project, you tend to expect the overspend and the kind of the overexertion to try and get there on the dot of the, right. We've got to get there, or it just flies past, doesn't it? I want to just touch on something because we've not done this yet. Because you talked a minute ago about the investment with this, with the services. Can you talk a little bit about how you work with Octopus, what Octopus's involvement is?
Well, as we know, Octopus has got many tentacles, and the
Yes.
tentacle we're working with is Octopus Energy Generation, and that is a infrastructure fund, and they invested in the business back in 2022. And one of the factors which, when we went out to market to look for our first major investment, we were quite keen to get not just money, but also work with an institution who can provide all the stuff I've talked about around partnerships, consumer behaviors, and provide some learning and some support. And I do think the Octopus model on customer is absolutely freaking amazing. And we try and replicate and behave and ape a lot of that and try and talk to them. So we get access to the teams if we want to go and ask questions. It's like a professional mentorship. We work with the Electroverse team, as do I know a number of other CPOs. We have electric vehicles from Octopus coming in for the company car scheme. We've got the investment coming in, but also the support you get and the access to the individuals. And they ran an event recently at Battersea Park for a day, and you just go and listen to what's going on in adjacent sectors, heat pumps, wind, all this kind of stuff. It's interesting because you can cross carry over some of that experience and the people you meet and so on. So the investment, we could have gone quite lazy and just gone, oh, let's just go to one of the big funds and just get some cash. But we didn't want that. We wanted a partner who really had the belief and provided that support. And 100%, I can say that's what we have had as well.
It just, to me, it feels like I've always had a really good vibe about Octopus. We're with them here at home, and I just personally really like them. But it also feels like they mirror your ethos. All the things you've been saying, and you've just been talking a little bit about Octopus. That's just you, isn't it? That I can understand why that works.
Yeah, I mean, basically, that vibe, which is hard to explain. I have the same. I'm a domestic Octopus customer, as is any family member I bump into, suddenly becomes an Octopus customer as well. And but the for me, the bit about but which you can't put your finger on, and which is the prize I'm trying to win, isn't to build a network with 50,000 chargers. Who wants 50,000 chargers if you have a terrible experience? It's about how does that customer get that vibe, that warm glow when they think about us as a network they want to go and charge with, and they feel this is the right way of we've behaved right, and it makes them feel cuddly as a result of that.
I like that. I like that. But I mean, what you're doing is there are a number of networks, and I'm not going to name names or anything, but I would say that there are a number of networks that aren't doing what you're doing in this way. There are some that don't make me feel cuddly, I've got to say, at all. But when it comes down to it, it's not just about return on investment is really important. So because those assets that you're putting in the ground are not cheap, are they? When we talk about that, but it's not just about the installation, is it? And being, because the work that we've been doing at Full Circle has involved this. It's about the next stage. It's about what that, like you're saying about that customer experience. What is it? If you could pinpoint that one thing, that kind of that wonderful thing that you're providing your customers with. I mean, I know there's going to be a plethora and we've talked about them, but what is the one thing that you would say gives them that cuddly feeling?
I think it goes back to what we started with, which was around community. So when I've been out, we did a public launch at the Charging Oasis, and we did a promotion, which caused a lot of few eyebrows raised, where we reduced the peak price to 50p and off-peak to 25p. And that created a conversation and with our customers. So my customers are coming up to me and having conversations with me about the price and how they feel about that, and how that could be carried across, and why did we do that, why can't we have that on the rest of the network, and how it matters to them where they can't charge at home, and the experience they're getting, and how they felt that we'd actually listened from a community perspective to the brand had listened to the community and the drivers out there. And these were mass market drivers, interestingly, not early adopters.
Interesting.
And they'd driven across to an event at let's face it, an EV charging station on a Saturday lunchtime. Fair enough, we were doing a 1p charge promo for the day. 1p kilowatt charge, but it was just interesting for me, that one bit, and get if you said the heart of the business about is we're trying to get that customer right, the customer experience right, but if you have the right heart with starting from community, I think you can get this right. As opposed to people used to ask me, sorry, just interrupting you there, but people used to ask me, what's your exit plan? Like, I don't know what my bloody exit plan is. I haven't got an exit plan. Like, no, you must have an exit plan. You're just not sharing it. Hand on heart, Adrian and I never went into this going, oh, there's an exit plan. Apart from hopefully we're still alive, so we don't have to. That could be an exit plan. But otherwise, the rest of it was we're having fun. We're building something, but we want to be true to what we're trying to set up here. And if you've suddenly got, and there's loads of books written on purpose, if your purpose drifts off into multiple activities and you can pretend to be customer focused, but you're really thinking, oh, how can I turn this business and sell it in 3 years? Or how can I do this? You can smell it. If you can feel it in the way the network's being delivered and the experience you're having as a customer. I genuinely think you can. Or if you end up in a large corporate type environment, you can feel it in the way the customer experience kind of comes out. And we've just tried to be really true to what we've set up and trying to create here.
It's funny. The one word I've just written down is fun, because actually when I've seen a lot of your socials, especially Angela Murison, who was she was involved in it, and when you were just talking then, it just reminded me of some of the things that you were getting the drivers to do, which were hilarious, and obviously Angela and the things she was doing, it comes across like that. It comes across as fun.
Yeah.
And like you say, if you come into exit, that's not really a journey, is it? That's just it's just a bit of a motorway or a flyover.
Yeah, yeah, and with the Angela's quite a good example, and the team internally worked with her. They were like, well, what's our boundary of what we can't do? I said, I think you've got common sense. You can work out what your boundaries is. I am not setting you boundaries, nor do you need them. I trust you to go out. I said, you know what the brand is, what we're trying to build. If you guys, and that's all been done by them without having to come back for, in a large organization, you've got 16 layers of approval. The brand should never have been that color and that shape or that, and so on and so on. There's been none. They've just gone off, and the first time I've seen all of that material is when it's been posted. And I'm like, oh, okay, what's going on? What's going on? It's funny, but what's going on sometimes around this as well? And but that's, if you've built the ethos into the business and the culture into the business right, then that you can trust your teams to get on with it.
Yeah, yeah. That is the whole point. It's the word I call, it's empowerment.
Yeah.
It's, to me, there is no point in micromanaging people. It doesn't matter how big your business is, and I'm very, very much I'm very pro positive culture, and that to me, part of that is about empowering your team, giving them the ability to make those decisions themselves rather than micromanaging them and worrying that they might do something wrong, because actually you need to be going off and doing stuff yourself, don't you? You've got your roving CEO hat on, so you need to do all that and all of the other stuff that comes with it. So micromanaging, let's put a big cross against that one and a big few ticks, kind of next to empowerment. But that's what you're giving your team, isn't it?
Yeah, and breaking news. My team will make mistakes. I will make mistakes. And my answer to it always is, did anyone die in the process? No. Then let's move on. That's basically, if you're not making mistakes, you're not taking the risks to actually, and most of those mistakes were made in a very controlled, we'll lose some money, or something won't be that as amazing as it should have been. But that's life. No one's noticed, no one needs to stress. There's no one trying to find someone to kind of pull down. And then separately with the team, we try and do some fun. We take them. We have our summer trip to the races. We do various events. We end up in the wrong curry house. We're trying that again, by the way.
Oh God! Excellent.
And we organise this there's a big blue pyramid of the M60 in Stockport, which has become this amazing Royal Nawab Indian restaurant. I think it seats like 10,000 or something.
Oh my God.
And so we all turned up with great excitement there, only to be told you've booked the Nawab, not the Royal Nawab, which is back in.
Hey. And they couldn't seat you, even though it was 10,000 seats.
Fully booked on a Wednesday.
Get out of town! Oh my God!
Fully booked on a Monday. And the embarrassing thing is, the team have all taken the train and then getting taxis for the final bit, and they're all turning up and going, "Turn the taxi round! Don't stop! We're going back." But we're going to give it another go in September as a team. So we're having a second round 2 of the pyramid. But the person who booked it, who won't be named and shamed, isn't booking it this time.
Funny that. I wonder why. I wonder why. I have been known to actually book a weekend away or a hotel on the wrong day, but I've only ever done that once. So yes, I have done that myself. But let's move swiftly on from that one. So I wanted to just go back to your Charging Oasis, because there was something that I was scribbling while you were talking. And you were talking about the way that the Charging Oasis was laid out. And this is why I really want to see this. Because to me, when you were saying it was circular.
Yes.
Was that so that the drivers could talk to each other? Because to me, that you're providing it in a very different way if you're doing it like that. And not, I know what it's. I don't know whether you've probably had the same thing as me. You rock up to a charger, and you do end up striking up a conversation with the person in the car next to you, because because it is really geeky, and if you're at a charger, it means you've done the whole thing. And the other day I was saying to a guy, "How's the Renault Scenic going?" And I had to check the badge on the front first, but But was that purposeful as well? The kind of the circular.
Yeah, and I think it comes back to you're going to think he's going about men here, but a lot of stuff historically designed by men for men in a very quite an aggressive, brutal fashion, whereas actually why? Because why is it? Why are we just pulling in? Because it was fine in petrol. You pull in, you pump, you go. But actually, you're not going. You're sitting there, and going straight in. Why is that? Okay, it's the same as suddenly. You can imagine if petrol stations had just been built in stables. You'd have gone, well, why are you putting them in stables? So we didn't design it. We designed it to think about the aesthetics, and this is why having an architect-led approach was important for me. And there was a lot of rolling of eyes from the construction team and the ops team, and oh my gosh, and our architect, a guy called Ed Lipton, is amazing, but they're always a bit crazy, aren't they, architects? And he kind of come up with these designs, and people sometimes you can't get the vision he's got, the way he's presenting it and so on. But having that circular flow of people coming in, the movements, the vehicles, the turning circle, is thinking about not your Nigel Mansell being able to drive, but it's you and me who aren't that amazing. So I'm assuming you're not amazing at driving. You might be amazing at driving.
I like driving. I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but I like it.
Well, I'm not very good at it, so I'll put my hand up and say I don't enjoy it that much, and I kind of find it very functional.
Don't you?
But actually
My
turning,
husband's like that. My
yeah,
husband's very
yeah,
much like that. He thinks it's very functional as well. He'd rather walk or cycle
yeah,
somewhere.
so would I as well. So you end up, but thinking about that turning and in and out and reversing in, and we look at some of the conventional bays today where so many people have pranged the bollards as well. Why is it
Yeah.
what's designed? So it's thinking through these type of things as well as the aesthetics. And then yeah, people it's not as easy to chat because we've created more space between the vehicles because we were conscious of when families come, you might get an amenity. Sometimes you don't want a coffee, you just want to get out, stretch your legs, look at the plants, let the kids out, let the dog out and all this kind of stuff. So we created space for that.
But what you're actually saying is that you've taken the chance to do it differently, and I wrote a post. Well, I think it was a newsletter, probably 2 or 3 months back now, that is on the lines of what you're talking about, making charging or giving people going to charging hubs or whatever, just giving them something different and give them the ability to do those things, like you said, just have a bit of a chill out because we're all just operating at 120, 140 miles an hour, aren't we? Our brains, and we're doing stuff and we're just out and we don't stop. To
Yeah.
me, I like charging because it makes me stop. Whereas I don't care about, I'm sorry, if you're still driving petrol or diesel and you're listening to this or watching it, I'm not saying I don't care in this way, but 500 miles, please don't do it because it's not safe anyway.
Yeah.
But actually, if you could, I stop after what, 2.5 hours because it's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Never mind the fact we do need to charge, because we've only got a small battery, but it's a good thing to do. And if we're going somewhere like you're talking about with the Charging Oasis, it means that you can actually just chill out a bit.
And this is also just about break. For me, this isn't. I'm not trying to enter this space to just break the norms. But so that we talked about breaking the norm on design. There's also breaking the norm on the way people charge. So power companies sell me power. Off-peak power is 9 till 7, I think it is, off the top of my head. 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. But if I'm a driver, 9 p.m., I'm in my gym jams getting ready for bed. Yeah, I'm not going out to go and
I'm
charge.
watching some crap on telly usually.
Exactly, but you're getting in your end zone of your day. But so we basically said, okay, on the Charging Oasis, where we thought let's try and break the norm, we made it 7 till 7. We were like, well, why not make it a bit more when people are off peak? I am off peak in my personal life. I'm still finishing work, but if I had a normal personal life, I'd be off peaking at 7. I wouldn't be off peaking at 9. I'm bedding at 9. And so creating that kind of trial and test and breaking the mold and trying to do something different, thinking about the customer and how the customer thinks about off-peak, as opposed to how the power companies designated it for the last 100 years, and so on, makes that, and trying to apply that out is important, as well as the design and the aesthetics and the app experience and so on and so on.
Yeah, I think that way of thinking is so refreshing, to be honest. It's really good to hear that. I'm going to start. I'm going to probably have another couple of questions for you, and this one's a little bit quirky, but I have a feeling you might like it. So, if you could install a BEV charger or a hub anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Um, Anywhere in the world.
Mm,
I think in cities, as in
okay.
city centres. I just feel as a driver, it's impossible to charge if you're in a city centre. Now, if you take London, even all the way up to the A406, take that as a big centre, it's very
Yeah.
hard to find good quality, ultra rapid charging in Manchester city centre. Apart from the bits where they've closed the roads, or where the roads are, the land's more valuable for property. I'm not going to go exciting like Addis Ababa or something like that. I think for me, it's practical about where we find it hard to find, and actually would be amazing to, because there's so much demand in those type of locations, and being able to
Yeah.
deliver what the community wants in those areas would be my number one priority in that.
Okay. And I know you're looking to purchase more land and more you want more sites, don't you? I suppose I'll ask you another question after this, but what what are the types of sites that you are currently looking for? Are you looking for similar to the Charging Oasis?
Yeah, we've basically because these things you learn, you do it, you learn, you pivot, and for us, we've kind of really focused our attention on destinations, so which predominantly retail parks where people will just plug in and go off and do their shopping
Mm,
or whatever activity, and drive-throughs. They're kind of the main areas, and the drive-throughs are a subset of what we did at the Charging Oasis. We have less control over
mm,
the aesthetics. We've been thinking about how we can get more of that, but actually that's kind of been the focus on the new development of sites, and also we're, as you know, we're a great British brand, so we've been looking to expand the network across. We started off in Greater Manchester. There's a lot of infrastructure now going on in the Midlands and in the South, geography-wise as well.
okay. So, and what is your vision for the next 5 years? What would you like to see BV achieve in the next 5 years? That will be my last question.
Okay. And this is a very easy one because I talk about this every single day. So for me, it's about being the number one CPO of choice for customers. I would love for, that giddy feeling you had about Octopus. I would love for people to organically have that feeling without me trying to nudge them to say it.
And yeah, and just carrying on the way that you are, as long as you don't develop lots of extra tentacles, you'll be absolutely, I can imagine you'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah, no,
S-
we're very single focused. We're interested in public charging and satisfying that need. I've no interest in dilly dallying. What we've been sent propositions for things like boats and planes and trucks and all the. I'm like, that's very interesting. It's for somebody else. It's not for me.
Yeah. I think that's good to keep yourself in your own space, do what you're good at doing and just keep doing it.
Yeah.
And Asif, it's been really lovely talking to you. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you, just really for your time. I know you're a busy chap. You're, you know, running around the country and doing all sorts of different things and involved in lots of stuff. We didn't even get to all this. I'll have to get you on again to talk about what you're doing with Bradford University as
Oh,
well,
yes.
because that was just, yeah, that'll be a follow on. That'll have to be a follow on conversation, and hopefully I'll bump into you at a future event, so we can kind of, I can have a, do you do cuddles? Because I'm into cuddle, hugs, that kind of thing. If you're up for that, then that's me.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I'll book in a hug with you as well then for sure.
Got it. Got it. But listen, thank you. And to everybody watching and listening, thank you. Please share, like, subscribe, do all the wonderful things that I always ask you to do. Check out the Electric Evolution LinkedIn page where all the podcasts are on there and the shorts that we put on as well. And just thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Asif, it's been lovely to talk to you.
Thank you.
And I'm going to say to everybody else, see you next time. Bye bye. Thanks for watching Electric Evolution with Liz Allen. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. If you're a charge point operator, local authority or stakeholder in EV charging, I'd love to talk to you about our Charge Point Evolution framework. It's designed to help you create a seamless EV driver journey, boost utilisation and maximise your return on investment. Alternatively, if you know someone who'd be a great podcast guest or might be interested in sponsoring an episode, you can email me on liz@fullcircleci.co.uk. Thanks again for watching.